The following program contains shocking amounts of wit. If you suffer from dim-wittedness, this show might not be right for you. Check with your mortician.
Say, Mr. Mohammed, come on, man, come over here. Let's have a glass of wine, brother. Well, maybe an ice cold beer. Oh, take a chill pill, man. Don't be trying to counter that dude's ear. What makes you think Almighty God wants you to cut off another man's head? Is God so weak, he's got to use you to make sure he's dead? Yeah, step up to the plate, homeboy. You heard what I said. Yeah, Mr. Mohammed, I'm singing about Mr. Mohammed. You know what Dante said? It's about a really hot place. The fire burns red. Mr. Mohammed.
Standing for truth in the four corners of America. Fighting for justice on the frontiers of the culture wars. And turning resistance into an art form. Randall Terry.
Welcome to the show, friend. If you want someone to be mild-mannered and politically correct, change the station. You are at the wrong place. But if you want to learn about the Muslim Brotherhood and the plan that Allah has for your life, stay tuned. Let's start with Granny. Everyone knows that a grandmother can tell you what you need to learn and to help you be a better person.
It's time now for Down Home with Granny Jihad.
Allah Takrapa! Children, listen to Granny, because Muhammad says fighting is obligatory for you. Are you listening? I repeat, fighting is obligatory for you, much as you dislike it. Without fighting, no sugar cookies.
Welcome to today's program, friend. First of all, I want to thank our network and our affiliates for carrying this show, specifically because we are in the middle of a multi-part series on the Muslim Brotherhood. And if you watch Fox or CNN or MSNBC or the three major networks, you're just not getting much on the Muslim Brotherhood. And the simple fact, as we have shown in this series, is that the Muslim Brotherhood is the preeminent Muslim organization in the world, as far as it's in 70 nations, it's got millions of members, tens of thousands of secret cells. I mean, these people are organized and they have enormous amounts of resources, enormous amounts of teaching material. They are committed to the extension of Islam, the implementation of Sharia law, and therefore the persecution and often the death of Christians. That is their history. And as we saw in previous shows, the founder, Hassan al-Banna, was perfectly content to, on one hand, say that he supported the governing authorities and just wanted to work within the system, and building a special apparatus, as it was called, or the secret apparatus, which was a paramilitary terrorist organization that was a part of the Muslim Brotherhood. All right? Said Qutb, who is probably the second or first most influential theologian in the history of the Muslim Brotherhood, he was clear as could be. If somebody tries to stand against Islam and tries to stand against the implementation of Sharia law, kill them. Kill them. And the Muslim Brotherhood still promotes and produces this material. I've got the literature. All right? So this duplicity inside of the Muslim Brotherhood is a part of the very fiber of Islam. When Muhammad was alive, a man came to him and said that he wanted to kill somebody who had been speaking against Muhammad. He said, but I've got to lie to do it. I've got to use deceit and treachery. Is that okay? And Muhammad said, go, do the deed. So we had this man who went and murdered another man, pretending to be his friend, using deceit. And then when the moment was right, killed him. Muhammad blessed this duplicity. Muhammad himself with his own words. And then when word came back, Muhammad laughed and rejoiced. Muhammad told people repeatedly, you have done me and Allah a great service by murdering that person. He actually instigated the murders of certain people. Who will rid me of this rascal? Who will rid the earth of this rascal? People volunteering to go murder, including a woman in her bed. That's Muhammad's life. It's in their literature. They embrace it. They honor it. They revere it. They respect it. And oh, guess what? They imitate it. What would Muhammad do? That's what a devout Muslim wants to do. Well, what has been the position of the United States? What's been our policy as a nation regarding the Muslim Brotherhood? Well, the Obama administration's posture toward the Muslim Brotherhood is chaotic and incoherent. For example, on February 10th, I believe it was 2011, the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence convened. That's a contradiction of terms, isn't it? The House Committee on Intelligence. They convened special hearings with intelligent heads during Egypt's mass protests before President Mubarak's resignation, and they were discussing, among other things, the Muslim Brotherhood. All right, so you've got Congress bringing people in, and James Clapper, the liar, who sat there and said that the NSA and the various government agencies were not, in fact, spying on the American people. He stated, listen to this, the term Muslim Brotherhood is an umbrella term for a variety of movements. In the case of Egypt, a very heterogeneous group, largely secular, which has eschewed violence and has decried Al-Qaeda as a perversion of Islam. They have pursued social ends, a betterment of the political order in Egypt, etc. In other countries, there are also chapters or franchises of the Muslim Brotherhood, but there is no overarching agenda, particularly in pursuit of violence, at least internationally. Close quote. That's what he said. All right? He's out of his mind. He's out of his mind. I got to take a break. We'll be back. We'll hear from FBI Director Robert Mueller, who I think contradicts Clapper. Don't go away. My wife and I, for 5 years, have been grinding our own wheat and baking our own bread from scratch. Within 2 hours, you can have fresh wheat in your hand and then piping hot bread come out of the oven. The most nutritious and delicious bread you will ever have. And we do it for under $1 a loaf. Call Paula's Bread and find out about this grain mill and the mixer and how it can save you money and change your life. Do you want to have knowledge, wisdom, discernment? If so, you have to read good books on theology, history, books that look at the lives of great men and women. So to help you to become a more effective Christian, a better witness for truth, somebody who can engage in productive conversation that exhorts and edifies those that you speak with, we're going to do something crazy. We're offering you these 7 books for a gift of any size. You just pay for the shipping and handling, and then give whatever gift that you can, and we will send them to you. But just to make it a little bit more crazy, I will send you a second copy of my 3 books, autographed, You can give them as a gift to your pastor or to a family member and help extend truth and justice in the world. This is While Supplies Last. Welcome back to the program, friend. Before we talk about FBI Director Robert Mueller, I want to just focus on Clapper for another minute. This man is a part of our intelligence apparatus. He is involved with national security. He advises the president. And he lied under oath about the government spying on us, collecting data on us. And he lied, now whether he knew he was lying with how he described the Muslim Brotherhood, I don't know. And as we'll see, there were people that said, if this is incompetence, that's just as scary as if it's deceit. But if you have been watching this series, and if not, by the way, go to voiceofresistance.com and look at the series. Look at the history of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood, from its inception, from its founder, is committed to the implementation of Sharia law and committed to the use of force and terrorism. Period. That is who they are. And when somebody who is tasked with protecting U.S. citizens has such a perverted and pathetic view of the Muslim Brotherhood, it's no wonder that we're in danger as a people. Well, thank God the FBI Director Robert Mueller did not buy the lie. He contradicted Clapper and stated succinctly, and I quote, "Elements of the Muslim Brotherhood here and overseas have supported terrorism." Mueller gave further details in a closed session, which we never got to see, but a small but pretty serious political firestorm broke out over Director Clapper's statement. For example, House member Sue Myrick, who was the one questioning Clapper when he made that idiotic statement, was stunned by his assertion concerning the Muslim Brotherhood, and she sent out a statement later in the day saying, and I quote, "Either the administration doesn't know who the Muslim Brotherhood is, which shows incompetence, or they are apologizing for them, which is inappropriate for those who are in charge of protecting the American people. Let's be clear. The Muslim Brotherhood is not secular." Well, on February 16th, 2011, just a few days later, Clapper again testified. This time it was before the U.S. Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. And he kind of said, well, maybe my statement about the Brotherhood was less than precise turn of phrase, and acknowledged that they are in fact not secular. But he thought that the Muslim Brotherhood was probably supportive of weapons smuggling to Hamas terrorists in Gaza. Probably supportive? Are you kidding me? How about funding it? How about sending guns? The Muslim Brotherhood was openly recruiting people to go fight in Israel a generation or two ago. And to this day, they're involved in jihadi terrorism. So this is an embarrassing understatement from Clapper. All right, a couple days ago, I mentioned this man, Sheikh Yusuf Qaradawi. All right, he's, I don't know, by now he's got to be 84, 85, 86 years old. The dude is old. All right. He is the head of the International Union for Muslim Scholars, and he is also the top theologian for the Muslim Brotherhood. Well, he issued a fatwa deeming it, listen to me, a religious duty for Muslims to fight Americans in Iraq. All right? He has long supported terrorist attacks of Hamas against Israel, and he's their chief theologian. So when you got the chief theologian of the Muslim Brotherhood saying it's a religious duty to fight Americans in Iraq, don't tell me that they're secular or that they're not involved in violence. And within days of Clapper's statement that the Muslim Brotherhood had sworn off violence, Qaradawi issued a fatwa, live by the way, on Al Jazeera TV, for Libya's Muammar Gaddafi, who had become a partner with America's war on terror. He said, that man needs to be assassinated. Here is his exact quote. I now issue a fatwa urging officers and soldiers who can kill Muammar Gaddafi, shoot him down and relieve the people and the country of his burden. This is the top theologian of the Muslim Brotherhood, okay? And he's on Al Jazeera live calling for a world leader to be assassinated, or I mean rather the Libyan leader to be assassinated, and he was, okay? That's the Muslim Brotherhood, people. I've got to take a break. When we come back, continue looking a little more deeply at the Muslim Brotherhood than most of the talking baubles in Washington, D.C. Did I just say bauble? Was that unkind? It's a very good word. Do you want to get America out of the hands of wicked and unjust men and women who are destroying the republic before our eyes, and put leadership back into the hands of righteous men and women so that we don't die as a nation? Well, you're talking about social revolution, and there are rules in social revolution. We can look at the victorious social revolutions of the past, such as the end of slavery, the end of child labor, women's voting rights, the end of segregation, and so much more, and learn from their victories. Look at their actions, their images, their rhetoric, their sacrifices, and their final fruit. We will send you this series that originally cost $129, 7 books for students, 1 teacher's guide, if you'll give a gift of any size and just pay for shipping and handling. Take advantage of it today. Welcome back to the program, friend. I am going to talk more about the Muslim Brotherhood and what Stephen Emerson said about them, a brilliant student and teacher of Islamic terrorism. But during the break, I thought, I need to talk just a little bit more about American public policy and the top theologian, Yusuf Qaradawi. Now, Qaradawi is the one who helped unleash what happened in Egypt. On Al Jazeera TV, he's the one who called for the assassination of Gaddafi. So we saw the Muslim Brotherhood bring down the government of Egypt, involved with fierce persecution of Christians there. Brought down the government of Gaddafi in Libya. And now they're trying to bring down the government in Syria. And the Muslim terrorists that are there, the Mujahideen, have been involved in barbaric crimes, eating people's intestines, murdering a Christian man that we know of. God knows how many Christians in Syria have been killed. They're a very small minority there. But anyway, Qaradawi is the top theologian for the Muslim Brotherhood. He, just 2 or 3 weeks ago, called for every able-bodied Mujahideen, we would call them Muslim terrorists, to go to Syria to fight against the Assad government, to bring it down, and to fight against Hezbollah. Now, Hezbollah is an Islamic terrorist organization, but they're Shiite. They're not Sunnis. Most of the Muslim world, as we've discussed, is Sunni. And he apologized for his prior support of Hezbollah in their fight against Israel. He apologized, and he calls them now the party of Satan. He's calling Hezbollah the party of Satan and saying, get to Syria as quick as you can, fight against Assad, who's a Shiite, help bring down the government, help fight against Hezbollah, fight against Iran, and oh, while we're there, let's get some more guns. And John McCain, oh my goodness, went to meet with the leaders of the Free Syrian Army and said, let's get guns into the hands of these freedom fighters. Well, these freedom fighters are Muslim terrorists, people who are associated with or inspired by the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood who knows that it is a religious duty to kill Americans in Iraq and in Afghanistan. Do you see? John McCain, Obama now, are funding and arming the people who have already publicly called for the murder of Americans. This is insane. It is immoral. Well, Randall, what do you suppose that we do? What do you propose that we do in Syria? Nothing. Stay out. It's not our fight. Sunnis and Shiites have been murdering each other since the first 30 years after Muhammad. Okay? This has been going on, folks, for well over 1,000 years, almost 1,400 years. And so for us to join on the side of what are now the Muslim Brotherhood and their elements and their associates and their compatriots to bring down the Assad government so that the Muslim Brotherhood is even more entrenched in positions of power in the Middle East, is in a better place to persecute Christians. This is immoral. It's suicide on the installment plan. It's insanity. I've got to take a break. When we come back, we'll hear what Stephen Emerson had to say about Obama's policies concerning the Muslim Brotherhood. My wife and I, for 5 years, have been grinding our own wheat and baking our own bread from scratch. Within 2 hours, you can have fresh wheat in your hand and then piping hot bread come out of the oven. The most nutritious and delicious bread you will ever have. And we do it for under $1 a loaf. Call Paula's Bread and find out about this grain mill and the mixer and how it can save you money and change your life. Welcome back to the program, friend. Stephen Emerson is a brilliant writer and has written a lot of books on Islamic terrorism. He's a go-to man for people in the government. And he testified before a Senate committee, and he was far more exacting. It was a Security and Governmental Affairs. He was far more exacting about the Muslim Brotherhood than Clapper, and he had extensive documentation with him. And he testified, the Muslim Brotherhood has provided the ideological model for almost all modern Sunni Islamic terrorist groups, and discussing Hamas, Al-Qaeda, Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Richard Clarke, the chief counterterrorism advisor on the U.S. National Security Council under Presidents Clinton and Bush, told a Senate committee in 2003 that, quote, the common link here is the extremist Muslim Brotherhood. All of these organizations are descendants of the membership and ideology of the Muslim Brothers. So, what are the options for the United States of America dealing with the Muslim Brotherhood? Well, our options are somewhat limited. The problem is you have to have intelligence. For example, CIA Director Leon Panetta said that this is not a monolithic organization. He missed the point. He missed the point. Obviously, by virtue of the fact that they have tens of thousands of cells around the world, 2 million members, that they're in 70 countries, they are a monolithic organization. They're huge. Okay? And they're armed. And they're trained ideologically to embrace Islamic Jihad and Sharia law. And they are the single greatest factor for the dissemination of the ideology and the justification for Islamic terrorism in the world. In this series, we've seen again and again that the founder, Hassan al-Banna, the theologian Said Qutb, the current theologian, Yusuf Qaradawi, these men, without hesitation, don't even blink to say use terror, use violence, use murder to fight the infidels, to fight against Americans, Qaradawi is saying, to kill and to help implement Sharia law. And on tomorrow's show, I'm going to actually read to you one of the sleight of hands used by the Muslim Brotherhood concerning the connection to modern-day terrorism and Said Qutb. This is who they are. They are a terrorist organization. We just don't have the guts to label them as that. Instead, we're giving them money and guns. God save us from our stupid, stupid leaders.
Bye.